In our previous lesson, we spoke and learned about some of the physical changes that takes place in the adolescent boys. In our third lesson, we are going to look at what the girls also go through during this adolescent stage. So, our subheading for the strand is going to be physical changes in girls. And then, under that, we will also be looking at the physical changes that girls go through for one to see that she has gotten to her adolescent stage. So the first changes that I would say or talk about is the development of bigger breasts. Yes, girls during the adolescent stage begin to grow breasts bigger than what they have. So when you see this sign, it tells you that that particular girl has reached puberty or has gotten to her adolescent stage. Secondly, they also widen in hips and then have their waist being narrowed. So they have a wider hip and then a narrow waist, what mostly we call the Coca-Cola shape. When girls begin to grow in this sense, it also tells us that they have reached their puberty stage or the adolescent stage. The third point I also comment or talk about is the growth of armpits and then pubic hairs. This point is also common to the boys when they reach adolescent. Girls grow armpits and then pubic hairs. The pubic hairs was explained in our previous lesson as the hairs that grow on our genital organs. So whilst boys grow pubic hairs and armpit hairs, girls also develop that same change. And then they also begin to menstruate, and that is the onset of menstruation and ovulation. Menstruation is different from ovulation. The ovulation is a sign that makes or enable one to know that the girl has been made fertile, and as such, if she engage in any sexual activity, pregnancy will set in. So when they menstruate, after menstruation, they get to a period of time called the ovulation period, and that is the period for which they must not engage in any sexual activity if pregnancy is not needed. The fourth point is they also acquire excess energy, and that is acquisition of excess energy. This point is also common to the boys when they reach adolescence. Girls acquire excess energy, boys also acquire excess energy. And then they also develop acne or pimples on their face. When girls begin to develop pimples on their faces, it also looks to be a sign of adolescence. And then it's also common to the boys, but the boys' growth of pimples and acne is a probability. That is not a possibility. But with the girls, it is a possibility. Boys may develop the acne, but girls will develop the acne or the pimples on their face. One point I skipped, that's the point number 6, is growth in height and weight. Yes, also with the boys, it is the same. Girls grow taller and then fatter, as it was explained in our previous lesson. Girls also grow in height and weight, growing taller and then fatter. With all these points that I have explained, all that I'll add to it is that all these changes are normal. You are not the first boy or you are not the first girl going through this change, as it was said in the previous lesson. It is very normal with every human being who is growing. So we say that all these changes are normal because they are part of the growth process. Anybody, our parents, our teachers, our uncles and aunties that as mentioned in the previous lesson also went through these same changes that we are talking about. So it will be a new thing. Should you encounter or experience this kind of changes that we are talking about? The changes that occur outside the body are referred to as the physical changes. The changes that we see occurring outside the body is what we call the physical change. It was explained in our previous lesson. While those inside the body are referred to as emotional and psychological changes. Yes, emotional or psychological changes will be dealt deeply in our next lesson, and this was briefly defined or explained as the changes that occur in the feeling and thinking of the young person. So boys and girls, as they reach adolescence, also go through This kind of changes we are talking about. So we say that these changes are also called physical development of the human body. So if you don't want to call it a physical change or psychological change, you can also call it a physical development of the human body. And this is where we draw the curtain down on. Thank you very much, and we'll meet again in our next lesson.